Hello, everybody. Welcome to Empowering Pastors, Leaders in Training. And I appreciate, I haven't been here. I don't think I've been here in a few weeks, right?
You were here last week.
Was I here last week?
No,
I wasn't. So it's good to be back. We've got some great learning today. I hope everybody's ready to learn and to grow. Remember, this is all about leadership, but leadership means that you have followers. Amen. If you are a leader with no followers, that means what? You're just going for a walk. You know, so a leader without followers, man, you're not really doing anything. And amazingly, there are many people who call themselves leaders that are not leaders. And the way to judge a leader is whether they have followers or not. If have no followers, then they can say they're a leader all they desire. That's why, and not to be overly aggressive, but there are many pastors who pastors 10, 15 people, and they've pastored the same 10, 15 people for the same 10, 15 years. They're not leaders. They're not leaders. A leader produces followers and then duplicates themselves. Where there is no duplication, then ultimately you're not accomplishing anything. So if you're a leader with no accomplishment, we went through a whole, if you remember, we went through a whole week that one of the demands of being a leader is that you have results. Turn to someone and say, you have to be results driven. If there are no results, then are you actually doing anything? Absolutely not. And so today I want to talk to you about work ethic. Woo! Woo! Come on now, dangerous topic. I want to talk about work ethics. What's the definition of ethics?
Set of rules.
A set of rules. Somebody look it up. Look up online. What's the word? What's a good definition of the word ethics? I just saw somebody speak into their phone. Definition of the word. What's your definition of the word ethics?
Moral principles that govern a person's behavior or their conducting of an activity.
A moral conduct, a moral value, a moral scale, a moral a thermostat, a moral ruler, a moral standard. So there are standards. So ethics are very important. How many believe ethics are important? Yeah. Well, now this is very interesting. We all have different ethics. We were brought up in different homes. We were brought up with different perceptions. Now, if you're born again, you're supposed to have the same ethics. What's the ethics you're supposed to have? I can't hear you. The ethics you're supposed to have is the Bible. Very good. The Bible is our ethics, and that's the governor that we have in our life. Now, what's this first word here, though? It says, what's the word? What's the definition of work? What's the definition of work?
Wow.
Come on. Definition of work. Okay, why don't you look it up? Look it up. There you go. Can I have somebody speak into their phone again? Thank you.
Activity in which one exerts strength or faculties or do or perform something.
What's the word activity mean?
Active.
Active. What's the word perform mean?
Accomplish.
To accomplish. So we're talking about ethics that will accomplish something. Now, it's amazing. There are so many different levels of ethics and so many different levels of work. But today I want to talk to you about the different values with the different generations. And then I want to start asking you some questions, if you don't mind. Because I believe that we can talk about certain things and we can give you information, but how is it going to be applicable to your life is what we want to challenge you with now. So let's talk about the boomers. They were born from 1946 to 1964. Are there any boomers in here? We have 1, we have 2, we have 3. I'm not a boomer. I'm on the line.
Just bear.
Yeah.
Who's a Gen Xer? They're born from 1965. There we go to 1976. Really? What year were you born?
76.
Wow, go on now. And then we have the millennials, Generation Y. They're born from 1977 to 1994. Who's here? A millennial or a Gen Xer or a Gen Y or a Gen something? Very good, very good, very good. Then we have the Gen Z. That's 1995 to 2010. Do we have anybody in the room? All the Bible? No, definitely not. All the Bible school students, their hands went up. So let's just talk about some strengths and some weaknesses. Boomers are characterized as workaholics. They love to work and they love to do overtime. In fact, they're very committed and extremely committed to their role in the workplace. Boomers are also considered very good team players. 53% of them say it's extremely important that they play and work with their people that they are involved with. This generation is also, they're seen as some of the best mentors because they're so involved in their work. They're so delved in what they're doing. They're so passionate about what they're putting their hand to that they learn quickly, they grow quickly, and therefore they love to mentor. Now, some of their weaknesses is that they love structure. Now, the one thing that you'll find is that they're very structured people. They want to know, that's right, Miss Kay, you are a very structured person. Very structured in the organization, very structured in how things are put together. They love structure. The challenge is, the weakness is because they love structure so much, they don't like change. Boomers are competitive. And need recognition and rewards. What you'll find is my mentality, because I'm right on the border here, is when I'm working with an employee, I want to find out what motivates them. I found out that money doesn't motivate people. Anybody else out there besides me? Money really doesn't motivate people. It might get their attention, it might get them started, but it will not propel them forward. So what is the motivator? What does motivate them? One guy, I was talking to a business owner and we were talking about this process, and he had a regional manager that was a great guy, but he tried to give some incentives to him. And he said, listen, I'll give you a bonus. And I think it was like a $2,000 bonus if you acquire or accomplish these tasks. And he said, the guy came back and he didn't even do $1,000. He wasn't motivated. I said, well, what does motivate him? And he said he watches TV all the time. I said, next time offer him a 55-inch television. That's when 55 was big. 55-inch television as his motivator. And you know what? The guy did it. Why? Because he was more motivated by the television than he was by even finances. Baby boomers are regarded as the least tech-savvy generation. Thank God I'm not there. The next generation is the Generation X. 70% of this organization believe that they are overall the best workers, Gen Xers. Now, I have to say that if you want to look at my birth date, I'm a Gen Xer, so thank you very much. We believe we're the best workers on the planet. That's right. We believe we get the most accomplished in the least amount of time. We're amazing people. Can I hear a hand clap for the Gen Xers? Their just generation is less inclined to say something if they disagree. They'll just, most of the time, keep it to themselves, and slowly it will fall away. They are considered the largest generators of income right now on the planet. And they love, because they saw that the boomers didn't balance their family and work well, they are very much, Gen Xers are a generation that balance their work and their family very, very well. In fact, they'll work harder during the daytime to make sure they have their family time in the evening. Gen Xers value being able to do things quickly and are less inclined to spend hours in overtime. So if you don't like to spend money in overtime, hire a Gen Xer. The millennials, the Generation Y, 77 to 94. Who's the millennials in the room? Out of all the generations currently featured in the workplace, millennials are considered the most independent workers. Now listen, when I started really studying this, it was really difficult. Why was it difficult? One publication actually said you should put no hours on the millennials. Don't tell them when to come to the office. Don't tell them when they need to be there. Just give them the liberty to do whatever they want to do, and they'll get it accomplished. They're independent. Well, I'm sorry. I'm on the board of a boomer and an Xer, and I said, X that idea. That's not happening in our workplace. That's not going to occur. Why? Well, because I couldn't handle that. I'm sorry. I would. Could you handle that? I could not handle that. Can you tell millennials Come in and fix the car whenever you want to. I just couldn't do it. Sorry. Millennials are, though, strangely, they're extremely concerned with the company they work for, the values, and also the ethics that they carry. So if you are a company that, and you'll see this with Starbucks, you're a company that gives a big thing on recycling, you'll actually draw people in that are millennials because they're moved by recycling, or they're moved by saving the whale, or they're moved by saving this or saving that. They'll actually join an organization because they believe in what they stand for. Now, millennials do not have a strong work ethic by nature. And again, I want to remind you that we can't paint the paintbrush for everybody, but millennials by nature do not have a strong work ethic. In fact, the average millennial only works 38.8 hours per week, where the Gen Xers and the Boomers work 40 hours plus on a normal basis. Now, the Xers a little bit less because they want to spend more time with their family. Now, the generation is impatient when it comes to their career growth, and 71% say that if they do not see the ability to grow in their organization within the first 2 years, they're looking for another place to work. Then we have the Gen Z. Who's the Gen Z in the room? Woo! All the Bible school students. They are the most tech competent generation on the planet. They pick up things faster than any of the other generations because they have learned how to surf a lot. They're always on the net. They're always looking for information. They're always looking to gain knowledge. And so they find that the Gen Zers, because of all of their tech savvy, they're actually quicker learners than even millennials and so on and so forth. They're natural entrepreneurs. 72% say they want to start their own business or be hiring people. So 72% of the Gen Zers, they want to be their own bosses. They're also described as always on generation. Gen Z are able to multitask unlike any other generation, up to 5 screens at a time. So that means if they're on the computer and they have multiple screens, they'll have up to 5. You'll have 2 on, and they'll have 2 more or 3 more down in the query just to be able to click it and pop it up. Now you notice who really worked for them is Apple. Apple, now you got Chrome doing it all to where you can have all those different segments opened up. They're actually reaching out and touching the Generation Z. Their weaknesses, they're regarded as more cynical. What does the word cynical mean? What's that? What's cynical? Okay, someone talk to your phone. What is cynical? What's that? A doubter. They just don't believe what you say. They're wondering what you're not saying. What's coming from behind here? Because something's not right. They're very cynical people. They would rather have a very realistic outview than an idealistic outview. What's the difference? Realistic, idealistic. What is it? What's realistic? Fact and reality. This is what it is. This is how bad it looks. Let's say it's a bad one. This is how bad it looks. The bank is coming to take your house away. Well, what's an idealistic person say? Everything's going to be all right. We'll figure this out in the future. Gen Zers don't think that way. It's automatic. Everything's going to hell in a handbasket. It's all going bad.
That's good.
All going bad.
Because they got their nose in those 5 screens.
They got their nose in the 5 screens they can't get out. Here we go. They're not likely to show a company loyalty. Gen Zers. So if they're not getting they're not getting the best out of it. 25% believe that they could only stay at a job for less than a year. It's a paintbrush. Remember, not everybody fits in the same paintbrush, but this is the overall. So you want to stay at a job a long time? Amen. We love you. You're hired. Glory to God. Gen Zs don't know much about time before social media, and so therefore they are constantly relying upon technology to be able to accelerate themselves. Have you ever had your power go out? Now I remember one time when this church we didn't have we have, what do we have now? Fiber optics. But I remember the other company that was there, they wanted to bring cable down to us, and they were going to charge us $15,000. So we said, I don't think so. So we brought in HughesNet, which we had termed SlowsNet. So SlowsNet would go down often. And it was amazing to see how little work got accomplished when SlowsNet was down, because everyone's relying upon technology. In fact, why don't I do this? Could I have all the Gen Zers bring your cell phones up and place them on the table behind the computer?
Go ahead, Vina. Yeah. Go ahead, Sam.
Take a notes on right?
Do you hear everybody? Well, I'm taking notes on them. Why don't I do that? That's my phone. I actually had a Gen Zer one time look at me and say, "Listen, you're not touching my phone." I'm just kidding. You can get your phones back. See how fast you came for your phone? Come on now, snatch that phone up. There's no joke. That's my phone.
That's a good crowd.
That was a good example, wasn't it?
That's a good crowd. They did well.
So what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about work ethics.
Pastor,
Yes.
what's the generation before boomers?
They are, hold on, they are the lost generation. No, really, that's what they're called, the lost generation. They were the generation that was in the Great Depression. And they raised the boomers. So here we go. What we have here is work ethic. Someone give me their personal definition of work ethic.
Working hard no
Pastor,
matter
I want to
what.
go. Can I ask you just to
Absolutely.
back on that? So back to the baby boomers, the Gen Xers, and all that. I can remember, like, back in high school, the Generation Xers having a real negative connotation, like they're lazy, they don't work, they don't anything, and that was me at the time. And you know what I mean? Do you think it's really the generations, or do you just think it's an age thing? Like, I see it in employees, like in their 20s, I know what I'm gonna get. Mid 30s, I know that, okay, they got a kid or two, they got a family, they got a house payment. They're kind of settled down. They've already bounced a ton of different jobs. And you're right. I don't care what generation I've seen. In their 20s, a dollar more an hour, they're gone. They bounce around. The grass is always greener.
Yep.
And most of them, I bet you 50% of my employees have left for greener pastures and came back. And when they come back in their 30s, they're 3 times the employee they ever were, because maybe it's not quite as good as I thought it was. And now they're a little more. So now that loyalty that you're talking about is there. They're not as flighty. But it's like an age. And I can, like you say, when I was in my teens, I wasn't ready to work. I don't think the baby boomers, I see pictures of the 70s where they're smoking everything. They didn't seem very dedicated to their careers.
What are your thoughts?
Until they got older.
What do you agree?
Yeah.
How many agree?
I agree.
Wow.
I think it's a combination.
So do you think it's a combination?
Yes.
What's the combination? What's your philosophy on the combination?
Because mainly the gap between the Gen Xers and the post millennials, which is our Bible college, like Gen Xers, just the way that technology has affected not only behaviors but perceptions and conceptions
Okay.
about what life can be. For example, without naming names, a person I know who
You need
is
to speak up a little bit louder. People aren't hearing you
The
online.
person I know who's a post millennial has this.
Could I have you come up this direction?
Sure. The difference
Excellent.
between me and the post-millennial is that I don't have any misconceptions about the fact that I'm going to have to work hard if I have a goal that I need to achieve. And what I see common among the post-millennial generation is they have this idea that they're going to get out of high school, start a business, be successful, lead people, and not have any training whatsoever.
Yeah, but I had that from 15 to 21. I was invincible. I was going to rule the world too. And I
Very true, but I think that it's so much of a the concept of actually having to work hard to get there is what's lost.
Yes.
Where I was 15, I had a job, I was partying all over the place, but I had a car payment and I worked for it, and I never expected anybody to hand me anything. And what I hear, I just, this instant gratification thing is that it's causing a work ethic issue. And I've worked with a lot of young people like you have, I'm sure, trying to teach them a work ethic, and the mentality of entitlement in that generation has to be broken off somehow. And I didn't have that as a kid. That was ingrained. There was no instant anything. You know, you wanted it, you worked for it. But now they just pick up their phone, even just to get information. You tell them, look it up on your phone. So they don't even really they don't have to open a dictionary. They don't have to open the Bible. They can just search a word in the Bible. You know, so it's an expectation level, or that entitlement thing. And I think it damages that work ethic for that generation.
Awesome. Now, I do want to say this, that I don't know if there's any solid answer. This is why I'm really enjoying this one today. Here's another one. Let's throw this in the mix. How about parental training? Yes. I think you need to either speak very loudly.
What has bridged the gap for what I've seen and what's affected me in my life is the ability to have generations pass those trainings down. And that's what you're hitting on, is where, you know, the things that were instilled in my parents from my grandparents, you know, it's not like you take 100% of everything that they got, but you still train your children or train the next generation. And that's, again, even going down through into now where my kids are, Generation Z. So they're still getting training from the boomers, you know, because it came through me. So I think that that's one of the ethics that I was taught from my parents. It got passed down from their parents, and therefore it continues to flow. And I think, again, for me, it's not like you get it all, but you get some, to where the ethics for me, I somewhat work like, you know, your generation, because I had a part of that instilled within me, and therefore it just passes down. So I think in the process of age, it is a maturation. You do mature, you know, later in your or mid to upper 20s, but ethics really is passed down.
Okay. So let's talk about parental training. How many of you know somebody that was brought up maybe in your generation, but their parents didn't work? Did that kid work? You know, we would call that impartation. You know, terminology that we would use is impartation. So does this play a formidable role? Yes.
What I was going to say is, in my day, I'll say in my day, what I see the difference is in my day that and I remember myself and a lot of friends at early age, even when they went to school, they were hustling to make money, and they were working either to help the family or not help the family. But there was a certain type of moral being taught, so certain ethics. And today, a lot of those morals and ethics are lost. Not saying that the generation today, that the kids can't have that there, but it's not being taught. You know, I see that in just in, you know, I got a lot of generations in front of me, all the way up to the Z, you know, and I'm hoping I make it to triple Z, you know, and stuff like that. But that's what it is, you know. I think, you know, they have it, but they have to be shown it, you know.
Here's a question for you. Is it right to expect somebody else to live up to your work ethic?
Is it right?
I guess that would be situational, wouldn't it?
I don't know. You answer the question.
Okay,
If you're going to answer it loudly.
If I'm the employer, you are living up to my work ethic, or I'll find somebody that will.
Okay.
Right? But if you're a colleague in some fashion, then I'm not going to look at the guy across the cubby from me and say, you know, you need to be doing that because I am.
Right. Now, what was very interesting when you made that statement, I watched a Zir go. I watched the face. It was like, what? See, this is why I wanted to bring this topic up, because whether we like it or not, what do work ethics produce?
Profit.
It's all a matter of results and success. So we're coming down to a principle to where work ethic has a direct impact on the bottom line. The bottom line for the companies are money. The bottom line for the ministry is souls. So everything comes down to the bottom line, which is results and success. So the question is, if our work ethic generationally is different, if it is simply age and maturation, or a combination, or it's parental training, how do we take somebody that is not living up to the production that they're available in their life? Now, this is what my belief is, and I'll just share my belief system. The job of a leader is not just to say, do this, do that. That's the job of a boss. But the job of the leader is to coach out of the people that you have employed or that are working with you their greatest level of work ethic, and to train them in new work ethic, to bring them to a place to where the best that's in them is going to actually be able to come out and flower. The difficulty is when we live the lifestyle and the job capability, and listen, I believe that for every department. I believe Pastor Dan's job is not just assimilation. I believe his job is to sow and invest and to coach the main leaders he has under him so that they can be the best, and what God has put within them can come to full fruition. I believe, as Pastor Obi is over the Bible school, that his job is not just education, but his job is to actually bring each Bible school student to the level that God has brought them in coaching and in process, to be able to bring them through training and through all the rest of the principles to bring the greatest level of success. I believe that. I believe that Jay's job, as he has his companies, is to take his management and to train his management to actually duplicate what he does so that he can go and train more people. Therefore, the business, the company, can grow and mature and generate more bottom line. So the question is this. Here it is. This is what I've been waiting for right here. If you see that somebody is not producing and you're working with them, does that bother you?
Yes.
When someone doesn't have the same work ethic that you have, but you just said to me that not everybody has the same work ethic, and then unless you're the boss, you can't say that their work ethic is right or wrong. Does it actually bother you if someone's not living up to your work ethic? Why?
Actually, I think it bothers
You need to talk really loud, honey. You've got a soft voice.
I do. It bothers me when I see somebody not working up to their greatest potential.
Okay,
That's my standard.
it bothers you not that they're not living up to your standard, but they're not living up to their opportunity.
Like my kids.
Right, like your children. Okay, somebody else, yes.
It bothers me because
A little bit louder, Pastor.
when when I worked at Chili's, it bothered me because I had a great work ethic, so I was given the opportunity to take care of 4 times as many people as other people, but that meant I had to do 4 times as much work, which meant I got in 4 times as much trouble because this kid who was over here was lazy, and I'm like, I know you can do it, you're just stupid.
Now, let me ask you a question. Are we saying that somebody who doesn't have the same work ethic as you is lazy?
Yes, sometimes.
Sometimes, yes.
But there's many times that they just don't know what they don't know. And they
Okay.
need someone to sow that time into them and help them just understand from a different perspective.
Okay. So some people, if they're lazy, yes. Some people just don't have a level of awareness.
Right.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
I think sometimes people just don't want to know.
And sometimes people have ignorance.
Yeah.
They don't want to know.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just need to be encouraged.
What's your thoughts? I can see your face grimacing.
So I used to struggle. I mean,
A little bit louder.
have you ever tried to push a chain?
Keep talking.
Somebody said that to my dad said that to me a long time ago because I struggled that everybody should be working as hard as me. And then I had to take a step back and be like, man, would I be working this hard if it wasn't my name on the side of the building? If I was working for somebody else, would I work this hard? So I have to always take that into like, to be fair. And some people just got it. And like in my world, maybe I'm not a good coach or like I wouldn't be a good teacher because to bring that person that's not very good all the way, you give me somebody that's good, I'll make them great. But I don't have enough time or patience to invest all this time in somebody that doesn't care, doesn't want to, because you're pushing a chain.
Right.
They don't really want to, and they're good with it. Like you're trying to make them something they don't want to be or naturally. They say rubber always goes back to its natural state. You try to make this person great. They may be great for a week or two or a month or a year, but they're going to go back to their natural state. And like in my world, the ones that got it. And the ones that don't have it, there's a place for them too. They serve a purpose. They make a good team member. It takes all types. And but the ones that got it, I'll take them and make them great. It's kind of like an NBA player. You wouldn't take a 5 foot tall person, invest all your coach would put all his effort into somebody that's 5 foot tall, try to make him a superstar. Like you take that 6'7" guy that's already got the advantage. He wants to do it. He's already, whether it's a physical, a mental, whatever advantage he's got, take it and make it better. And
So what would you say to a person? What would you say to a person you have on staff that has the potential? Because everyone has levels of potential. They aren't motivated, whether it be lazy or whether just awareness. What would you say to bring them to the higher opportunity? Or would you say anything to them?
They might get a say or two, but if they don't want it, without me having to drag them along or push the chain, I'm not going to waste a lot of my resources. Mine are kind of limited. I'm thin for time as it is, and I'm going to invest in somebody that I know is going to. Maybe I'm lazy. I don't want to have to work as hard to bring them through. But you know what I mean? Like I hate investing my time in a person and then seeing them go or lose them because they don't really want to do where I'm trying to get them to be. You're kind of wasting your time.
Now, in the church world, we talk about this, and it applies in all areas. The majority of leaders spend 80% of their time with the critical, the complaining, and the crazies.
I distance myself. It's true.
No, it's true because they should be spending 80% of their time with the committed and coming to commitment, and spend only 20% of their time with the crazies, the complacent, and I always forget the last one, complainers. And this is the reality. But we're talking about work ethic, and whether you like it or not, in every work environment. Well, let me ask you a question, Brother Dave. In your company that was a trucking company, did you have people that were not living up to the potential? Did you keep them?
No.
You got rid of them. Did you find people that could and that weren't lazy? What did you do with them? You promoted them. And that stimulated them. Great. Work ethic. What happens if you're in an environment where you do have somebody that, like Aaron, you're doing their work? You're not the boss. You become the boss and get them fired. Okay, come on. Let's talk about church too, please. Let's talk about church. Let's talk about church staff. Let's talk about church volunteers. How do you motivate a volunteer? They take on a position as a volunteer, but now they don't want to fulfill whether they're lazy or it's awareness. You make them aware and they're still not stimulated. What do you do with them?
Remove them.
Remove them. How do you remove them?
You find a position that's better suited for them, because there has to be something where they're add value, but you cannot allow them to really create a negative environment in the position they're at if they're not going to go for it.
Now, listen, that lady who just spoke that was an HR over a large company. So she definitely has done that, correct?
Many times.
Many times. Yes.
For the church, I think one thing that is different from the
A little bit louder, Pastor.
So for the world, no, this is the job. It is online. You apply, you have those skills, you get the job. Within the church world, I think where sometimes we may mess up is that we use that same process when it has to be backwards, in which we have to sell them on the why and the vision before the what. Yeah. But oftentimes what I've seen is that we have this board, you have the skill set, go and do it, but they're not sold out to the why. Ooh. So then once their normal like laziness kicks in, they have no reason to stay.
I think I need you to come up here and say that into the camera. So come on up. That's a good one.
Can you recite that whole thing?
Yeah. Can you redo that one?
Sure.
Pastor Abina Ebo.
Whose phone is this?
Okay. So with wow, you're short.
Yes, I am.
So within the business world, oftentimes we are going to hire off of a skill set. This is the job. This is what needs to be done. Do you meet X, Y, and Z? You get the job, and then you go from there. It's typically the top boss who has the vision and the heart. If you are a low-level person that is working, you really don't need that. Just come in, do your job, and that's it. Within the church, I think sometimes we use that same way, and that becomes a problem because once the normal laziness or what's the other word?
Awareness.
No, not that word. Inertia.
Inertia. Very good.
Once that kicks in, now they stop producing. So we as pastors, we get upset, we are frustrated, people do not show up, volunteers quit, it just becomes a big issue. I think the problem is that we started off on what they can do as opposed to why, as opposed to this is how the vision will be served, as opposed to if you do this, this is what that outcome is going to be for the kingdom of God. So I believe that as church people, if we start off with the why and sell them on the vision, even when it gets tough, they won't back off because there's too many souls on the line. There's just so many things if I was to quit. There are days where I love you. I don't want to come on a Sunday morning. It's like my bed's warm. It's like 20 degrees outside. Besides the fact that like I'm on staff, even before that there's a vision, there's a purpose, and that's what's going to drive me. So that's what I said.
But you're strange.
I am strange.
You are strange. I mean, you were brought up in a Nigerian household that your father and mother both are major workers. It's within your generational bloodline. I mean, your brother and your sister just completed her doctorate from Harvard, correct? And so, I mean, this is inside of you. This is the drive inside of you. What do you think, though, about somebody that grew up in a home where they might have only had a single parent and the single parent just took welfare?
I had a friend in college who his mom was a single parent, welfare, and he went to the same college as me, graduated a year before me, out of college, working at Goldman Sachs, making $120,000 a year. Yeah. So I really think that at some point it boils down to just making a choice. Either this is the deck of cards that I have and I'm going to complain and moan and groan about it, or saying that I have every opportunity, I'm going to use that to the best.
Here we go. Ready? Here's the next question, because that led right up into it. Ready? Here's the question. What work ethic do you have? Because it's really easy, we can talk about work ethic and we can compare ourselves with others who do and who don't, that are seemingly lazy or seemingly unaware. But if somebody, and I think it's always safer this way for us to judge ourselves. What is your work ethic? If someone was to measure you, what would they say you are? Are you a driver? Are you neutral? Are you lazy? Do you only do what you have to do? Who are you? I really want you to write this down because I think it's important that you actually neutral. Are you neutral? Which means this. It means you have no drive, but you do what's in front of you. Are you lazy? You only do what you have to do to get by. Most people are never going to be honest with themselves. And I think that one of the most important things, especially as believers, we have the Holy Spirit dwelling inside of us, is the ability to become great leaders. Is the ability to be a great leader inside of you? Absolutely. But even though God has created every human being to be a leader, doesn't mean they're going to lead people. They might lead a department. They might lead a situation. They might lead animals. Whatever department, wherever you are, they're supposed to lead. My question to you is, if you were going to be evaluated by somebody who had a high work ethic or your boss, what would you give yourself as a point system? Let's just say 1 to 5. Would you be a level 5, a driver? Would you be a level 4, a neutral? Would you be a level 3, just straight up lazy? Would you be a level 2, only do what you got to do? Because that's different. And I don't have a number 1, but if you're a number 1, don't write it down because you don't want to see it on yourself. Who are you? What type of worker are you? Now, if once you've figured out what kind of work you are, I want you to ask yourself this question. How did I become this kind of worker? Well, there was one right there. My parents made me.
I actually said beat me.
Yeah, I heard.
He said his parents beat him. Now we'll keep that one because that's right on. What made you what gave you the ethics that you personally have? Someone give me your answer. Yes.
I'm going to tell on myself.
Okay.
I'm lazy.
Okay.
Okay. And just inherently, and I think I'm just kind of reflecting a little bit, things when I was in high school, things kind of came easy to me. There was one thing that I used to do very regularly that maybe was not as easy, but I loved it in music. And then because things came easy to me, I almost flunked out of college.
Okay.
In my first year. So now I'm gaining on 60 years old, and I'm looking at, okay, what I've done in the past several years has kind of been lazy. So what happens with me is it becomes situational.
Okay.
Because now success breeds success.
Correct.
Things are going a little better. You got a little bit more wind in your sails. You're working a little bit harder, and then it happens again. And so that helps me to not be as lazy, at least. Let's say that.
I think that was really well spoken and honest. Can you guys appreciate honesty? I want somebody else to be honest. Yes.
I've been taught, trained, growing up to do only what you can do. However, I was raised by a dairy farmer who worked pretty much around the clock. So the work ethic was there for labor. So even though I've been trained to do only what you can do or what you want to do, I still have the work ethic of just keep plugging away, keep plugging away, keep plugging away. And that's what I've been raised as. But, what I've learned even in the course of, last few years is pursue, and not just doing only what you can do.
Right. Awesome. Somebody else. Yes, Pastor.
So mine's gonna be a little bit different.
I need you louder.
I'm a driver, but my challenge and the critique I've gotten from some of my coworkers is that people that don't have the same ethics as me when it comes to work, I drive them away.
Oh,
so
very
I
interesting.
really wasn't a team player because of just like how hard I drove.
Okay.
So I don't have to change my work ethic. I just have to be mindful about people that don't have the same as me and just how can we all work on the same team.
Very good. Mindy,
I find
a little bit louder, Mindy.
I find myself in neutral sometimes, depending on what it is that I'm doing.
Okay.
What I'm more passionate about, or where my heart is more, then I'm more of a driver. But if it's something that, well, this is kind of just comes along with the job, then I find myself in neutral a lot of times. I have to fight through that.
Okay, great. Somebody else. Yes.
So my dad was a driver, and I am a driver. He was a man that had the 3 jobs, took care of the family, didn't really have balance, but he did what it took
Right.
to get it done. And he loved his community, he loved children, and he was a politician too. And because of who he was, it really created me into who I am by just watching him and the success and the influence he had.
Awesome. Jay.
Yeah, I definitely probably am a driver, and I got some Mindy in me too. It's a lot easier when you enjoy what you do. Like I love what I do, so that's fun to me, even for a hobby. Like I enjoy to work on a lot of the stuff that we have. So if I'm in something that I'm not passionate about, and I don't enjoy, it's awful easy to kind of kick into cruise control or neutral and maybe take a back seat.
Okay. Would everybody say here that what you're passionate about, you have a higher work ethic for?
Yes.
Okay. So somebody else, give me why you have your work ethic. Yes.
I have my work ethic.
I need you to talk louder.
Because of my parents. My parents are both very strong drivers. You can ask Mr. Como over there. He's known me my whole life. And we do everything we can with excellence and then some. And then we just keep doing it, and we don't stop until it's done. Doesn't matter if it's going to be 2 o'clock in the morning. We have to be at church at 7 o'clock the next morning. We're at the church repainting it or rebuilding it, just depending on, it's just what we've done. And now, me and all my brothers and sisters, when you give us a project to do, we don't stop until you tell us to stop or the job is done.
Or the job is done. Excellent.
I also forgot to mention debt.
Debt.
I have a pretty strong work ethic because of what we owe. They don't really go away. So
Stronger work ethic because of what you owe. It's true though, isn't it? It has influence. Yes.
I think that I'm just sitting here listening to everybody, and I think that those of us that are drivers can help those of us that are not.
Yes.
Shall we say? And I feel affirmation and encouragement.
Right.
And I think you can take somebody from lazy and at least get them to neutral.
Right.
By simply coming behind them and being a little bit of, like I said before, wind in their sails. And you know, again, success breeds success, and then all of a sudden you see it, somebody blows on that sail again, and it comes up and it keeps coming up. So
Everybody agree with that?
I do. Absolutely.
Yes? Excellent.
Leader sets the rate of the pack.
Leader sets the rate of the
Like
pack.
when I'm around somebody that's working physically, manually, super hard, you almost pick up your game a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yes.
So that definitely.
Excellent. I love it. Now let me ask you a question. If you've identified your personal work ethic, how can you make your work ethic greater? Yes.
I think for me is being able
A little bit
to-
louder,
I
please.
think for me is being able to invest that into the people around me, either at home, here at work, you know, friends and such. Because again, I just drive really hard, but I could also ostracize people, and that doesn't help you if you're driving just by yourself. So it's been very interesting with these Gen Zs, getting their work ethic out there. It's really awesome by watching them, and then seeing how do I maintain my drive, but then effectively pull them all up, all at different paces. But you can't do it.
Now let me ask you a question, because you just opened another can of worms. How many of the Gen Zs, when he said that, went,
Sammy did.
about bringing up the level.
I saw my interest head.
Yes. Because we all think we have somewhat of a good work ethic. I mean, we have to look somewhat at ourselves as positive where you are in your work ethic. What do you have to do to raise the bar for you? Yes.
Here's what's coming to me. One more thing. Just do one more thing. Make one more phone call. Stop and see one more person. Get one more, whatever it is, chunk of paperwork filled out. Just do one more thing, and that'll kind of pull on you and stretch you. And then maybe the one more thing will
move you
lead
forward
to another more thing.
Excellent. That's
So,
good.
I've been listening to some guys, and what they've been saying is like if you want to increase production, do less. That you can actually, like, if you're the only one that can do it, just do that and crush it. One guy I've been listening to, his name's Jocko Willenick. He said he like puts these things through the test, and he'll go 2 weeks without doing something. So let's say it's investing in new businesses. He'll take 2 weeks off investing into new businesses, and if he can go without doing it for 2 weeks, he'll just stop investing in those types of businesses forever. He'll just break up with it and focus on what is more successful in his life right then. And then when they get to that point, they'll add a 0 to the end of it or try to multiply it by 10. So it's not that they're like lazy and removing things, but they'll just refocus and add a 0 so they have to go even harder at that one thing for production.
What do you have to do?
I'm working on that. That is what I have to do.
Very good. We've all heard of the Pareto.
Yeah.
How many of you actually do a Pareto every day? Oh, if you haven't heard of Pareto, let me explain it to you. It means when you get up in the morning, you should write down the 10 most important things that you need to accomplish for that day. What you're supposed to do is only the top 2. You do not move to any of the other ones until the top 2 are completed. This will raise your production level to a higher level. Then there's a book called The One Thing. How many of you have ever heard of the book called The One Thing? We did the study here in this class. What you do is you have your Pareto, your top 10, break it down to the top 2. You don't do anything until the top 2 are completed. The book called The One Thing takes the Pareto one step further. And it says it brought the productivity of the people in the company up 30%. And that was you take the top 2, which one of the top 2 is the highest level of priority, and you only do that one and do none until that one is complete. That raised the productivity up 30% in the company. Somebody else, what do you have to do? Yes.
For me, it's just like
A little bit louder.
For me, it's just remembering like why I'm doing it, because like a lot of stuff I do is not like fun stuff, so I get kind of like bored and feel kind of stale about it. But then I just have to remember like why am I doing this? How is this looking at the bigger picture? That type of stuff.
Okay.
I think also like not trying to get
A little bit louder, hon.
trying to get your mindset not comfortable of where you're at, and to keep reminding yourself how grateful and how blessed you are to be where you are.
Yeah.
So that you'll not take advantage of it, I guess.
Somebody else. So my question is if you're working with somebody and their work ethic is different from yours, how do you keep from being frustrated? What'd you say? Coffee. She said coffee is the answer.
Not according to Derwin Kirby.
Come on now. What is, if you're working with somebody and their work ethic is not the same as yours, and you're getting frustrated with them because you're not thinking they're lazy, well, maybe you are. But what do you have to, how do you keep from being frustrated and losing your passion for the job because you're working with somebody who is either lazy or without enough awareness? Yes.
So when I felt like that, I typically meet with you and I ask for constructive criticism because that just puts it back to what can I work on. If I don't have that in mind, then all I can think of is that I'm doing great. But when you realign me, I realize that there's something more that I can work on. And then it goes back, then I don't have time to be thinking about anything else.
If you're an employer, which Gen Zs want to be, 72%, how are you evaluating somebody's work ethic through a resume?
I don't think you can. That's why you have references.
So you have to have references. What happens if the references lie?
That's why you sometimes have a probationary period of 90 days.
Okay.
Or the benefits.
Probationary, very good. How many of you have had to let somebody go who you thought was going to be productive that wasn't? Are you one of those people? Just no one said it to you. I love the fact when we have to come back and we have to ask ourselves a basic question. I'm frustrated because they're not living up to my expectation. They're not accomplishing the job that I expect them to accomplish, whatever our reasons are. I always find it much more powerful when we can flip it and say, what can I do either to empower them or what can I do to change me to bring my level higher? If everyone in this room, every one of us, make our level of production higher, our results higher, then the people around us are either going to shine next to us. One of the only lessons that I've learned in golf, because I'm a horrible golfer. It is true. I am a horrible golfer. I actually start my lessons this week. And what I've learned is this, is that people who play with me score less. It's true. When they play with me, they have a bad game. Not all of them, but the majority. They'll say to me, my goodness, I've 10 shots over what I normally shoot. And I'm chuckling inside.
Iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron. The point is that I know that my golf game actually gets better when I play with them. Theirs gets worse. Mine gets better. Who are you hanging with? If your ethics are going to rise, you have to be around people that are going to have higher ethics of work than you have. If you always hang around those who have the same ethical value that you have, morally, work ethic, whatever ethic, you are not going to rise to another occasion if you're staying with the people that are like you. And if you're higher than they are, it is impossible for you to remain in that position. You will slide back. Well, the Bible says it, bad company corrupts good morals. You will slide down in your moral value. You will slide down in your ethical value if you're not around people that are higher than you. So here's your question. Who are you hanging around that's higher than you in your work ethic? I don't want to know. This is for you to answer. If you're the highest, how do you know you really are? If you're the best around you, how do you really know that that's good? You can only ever come close to measuring yourself in reality if you're around somebody that's higher than you are. So who's around you that has a higher work ethic than you have? And if you're not, then you probably are in neutral and you just don't know it. You think you're a driver and you're really not. You might not ever reach your potential. Because until you're stretched, you'll never truly see what you can actually do. When the when they go for ranger training or the higher level of training, one of the things they try to do is break you. And they always say this: what you think you can do far more than you ever thought. What you think your body could withstand, you can do far more than you ever thought. Talk to survivors. They'll tell you that. I think the one that stimulates me the most is the man who went for a hike and he fell down in a crevasse and actually a stone rolled down and landed on his arm. And he had to take a pocket knife and cut his own arm off. Or he would have died right there. You never know what you can accomplish until you're in a position that makes you do something you've never done before. So who around you has a higher work ethic than you? Who do you want to be like? What do you want to accomplish? If we stop looking at everybody else and we just all rise, cream always goes to the top. And I tell you, well done, thou good and faithful. God likes faithfulness. And if you and I are faithful, who's the one who brings promotion? The Lord brings promotion. So the higher work ethic you have, the more you will see God will promote you. And it all comes down to that basic truth. So, what is your work ethic? Who are you around that has a higher work ethic? And are you really moving forward or just in neutral? That's all I got for you today because it's exactly 1 o'clock. Everybody online, I wanted to ask you to really judge yourself, and I want to remind you that all during the week you can communicate with me. Facebook is Empowering Pastors, website empoweringpastors.com, email Dr. Spencer at empoweringpastors.com. You can communicate with us. We'd love to encourage, strengthen, and build. And really, I know some of you have to be here, your staff or your Bible school students, but I really appreciate all those who have taken time out of their schedule to be here. Because if we can grow, we can change, I say it all the time, 1 thing a month. That's 12 things a year. Most people don't change anything in a decade. You change 12 things a year, you'll be blown away how God will accelerate your life. Amen? Amen. Thank you so much for being here.
That's fantastic.